What's up, guys? I want to talk about Resistance 3 today, and I actually want to talk about why Resistance 3 is going to do better than Resistance 2. I think it's going to do better than Resistance 2 for a lot of reasons, but there's a couple that really stick out to me. First off, the first two games were amazing games, and by no stretch of the imagination am I bashing either one of them. I'm simply saying the third one is just going to pack that punch that I really feel hasn't been brought to the table by Resistance 2 more than Resistance 1. Resistance 1 was a wonderful game. I honestly, personally, don't think we could have asked for much more, especially when the PS3 was in such an infant stage. The technology was so alien to everyone. Insomniac really delivered with that first game. Unfortunately, that spark wasn't really there with Resistance 2. They missed on a lot of components, and they actually changed the game up a lot that I really felt hurt them in the end. But a couple of those things that they changed, obviously, the setting was a little different. There was a lot more colors in the second game than in the first. You felt more badass in the second one. Your health regenerated. You know, it had different components to it. It didn't feel like that survival horror first-person shooter that the first one felt like. You didn't feel like, oh, I'm the only person left and it's just me. I guess I gotta just, you know, take down all these freaking chimera by myself. You know, you had a team with you, had a squad with you. You were part of an army of people that were as powerful as you were, or, you know, almost as powerful as you. So it had more of a badass feel to it. Me personally, didn't work too well, especially with alien games, things involving aliens and shooting them. I really don't want to feel like I'm superior to the aliens because I'm a badass. That just doesn't work too well with me. And that's why I love Killzone 2 so much, for the record. Killzone 2 has one of the greatest atmospheres ever. You never feel like a badass in that game. You always feel like you're on the run. You always feel like you're about to die. That's just how it is. And I really think they're going to bring that with Resistance 3. There's a video, there's a link in the description. You guys can go check that out. I personally enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was just an amazing video. But Insomniac's really given us some details that it's given me faith, honestly. The first thing that they talked about is they're bringing back the weapon wheel from the first game. I think this is awesome because, first off, Insomniac, they make some freaking crazy-ass weapons. They make some weapons that you're not going to see in another game, ever. Not in Halo, you're not going to see it in Gears, you're not going to see it in any other first-person shooter that is really like a sci-fi little twitch to it. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. It's just not going to be there. They come up with these ideas that are just, because it's Ratchet and Clank. That's what it is. That's when I think Resistance, I think of a more mature version of Ratchet and Clank in first person. And I'm okay with that, honestly, because, I mean, Ratchet and Clank kicks ass. So whoever doesn't like Ratchet and Clank, it's just, you just don't like a fun time blowing shit up. It's just that simple as that. But the first two games, they really were different. Like I said, the weapon wheel was in the first one, so you had access to every weapon in the game at any time you wanted. The second game, you had to pick two guns basically. That took away a lot of the variation of gameplay, took away a lot of the fun, honestly. But the fact that they are adding they're adding back the weapon wheel is just like kind of like a giant present from them, because it's basically telling us, you know what, we understand you guys want to play around with our weapons, have fun. If you want to shoot somebody with a shotgun and then switch to a grenade launcher and shoot them, then have at it. I mean, do what you want. That is a really good sign. It's actually showing that they're listening to the complaints, which is another reason why I think it's going to do better, but I'll touch on that in a second. The weapon wheel is going to add a dynamic extra layer to the gameplay, because now you can just do whatever you want. Basically, you have all the guns at your disposal, so if you feel like running around being a crazy ass bastard with a shotgun, you can do that. But if you don't feel like that, you can have a bunch of other guns at your disposal. You don't have to pick and choose. It's going to be better for situational awareness, as like you're not going to be limited to 2 guns. Say you get 2 guns and those 2 guns aren't going to work out when you need them. I mean, it's just, you can switch to another gun now with the weapon wheel. It's going to add this extra layer to gameplay. It's going to make the game that much deeper. I really think that's going to work because of how diverse the enemies are in Resistance. There's about, you know, what I can remember, there's like 10 or 11 different types of enemies that you run into on a regular basis. And it's kind of fun to be able to approach them however you would like to. The next thing, though, like I said before, is the complaining they got. They got a lot of complaining from Resistance 2. There was a lot of issues people had with it. A lot of people didn't like it that much, at least as much as the first one. And one of the major things that people griped about was the atmosphere. It looked like you were looking through like a Jolly Rancher the entire time. It looked really orange and really yellow. It was real colorful. It didn't fit with Resistance. It didn't have that monochromatic color scheme that the first one did. It didn't have that, you know, horror film type feel to it. But they have confirmed that the game, first off, the game's going to have a horror film, like 1950s wash on it. So it's already going to look like freaking scary as hell. Then, they've already said that the color scheme, while it won't be as monochromatic as the first game, it will be less colorful than the second. So I think they're going to find that perfect balance, which is really going to add to the atmosphere. Like I said, with first-person shooters, it's all about atmosphere. It's just one of the most important components when you're playing a first-person shooter. You really want to feel like you're in the action. And when you have a scary-ass atmosphere like Resistance 1 had, then you're definitely going to capture the audience. But they've actually said verbatim, this is actually from the video, they said they want their environments to be depressing. They said that you want to see that people are afraid, and it is like a post-apocalyptic nightmare. People are huddled together, scared, and those are some cool little animations that they're going to be able to play around with, and it's really going to pull on our heartstrings. It's going to pull on our emotions. The game being set in New York, it's going to be a good. I think it's a good idea personally. Like I said, it's the emotion. It's all about emotion with games. You got to get emotion out of people, and it makes the experience that much better. The other thing that I want to talk about though with the whole game is just the fact that they're just taking a lot of things into consideration. The game obviously looks prettier from all the trailers that they have out. A little bit of gameplay here and there. The game looks prettier. The game, the story is shaping up wonderfully well. And first off, before I even get into this, I want to say, spoiler alert! Nobody watched this part of the video. If you haven't beaten Resistance 2, I don't want you to be upset or come at me and be like, you know, you're an asshole, you freaking told me how it ends. You got your spoiler alert right here. Go ahead, you know, hit the X button or whatever you got to do. But we all know Nathan Hale dies at the end of the second game. And honestly, for me, I was like, what the fuck is going on now? Like, where do we go from here? That kind of pissed me off. I was like, I paid $60 for this? Yeah. And so, well, one thing that we're certain of is you're not going to play as Nathan Hale anymore. You're playing as Capelli. And I think that's actually really cool. I think that's a good idea. It's a good way to take the story. If I couldn't play as Nathan Hale, personally, I prefer playing as Nathan Hale because, you know, you play as a guy for 2 games. You kind of want to be him again. It's really fun being Nathan Hale. But at the same time, Capelli may even be more vulnerable. So that might add to the whole feeling vulnerable in the game. But the developers have said it's a different Capelli. For those of you who don't know, he was like about 250 pounds, the developers said, in the second one. They said that they didn't want you to play Capelli from Resistance 2. They didn't want you to be Capelli from Resistance 2. They said that he's changed as a person and, you know, physically also. They said they wanted the change in the character, the progression. Well, Joseph Capelli, he decided, hey, I don't want to, he didn't want to work with Serpa anymore, so he decided, you know, he's going to break off, do his own thing. He started a family in a small town, you know, and he's just doing his own thing. Well, you know, apparently with every hero story like that, obviously shit's got to hit the fan sooner or later, right? I mean, there's freaking giant lizard things trying to take over the world. I don't think you're going to live happily ever after in that situation. Sorry, dude. But eventually something wrong goes and he has to do something to save his family and the human race. But he is being accompanied by the ever so popular Doctor. And I do not remember his damn name right now. I wish I could remember his name. But I can't remember his name. Is it Malikov? I think it's Malikov. I think it's Dr. Malikov. But he's being accompanied with him, and they have actually said that they don't like each other too much. Their styles clash, and I guess as the game progresses, you'll see how that plays out. That's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. It's a nice little plot twist to it. It's adding to the dimension of the story. But all of these, coupled with the fact that, again, the game has the weapon wheel back. The game is going to have that horror, scary feel to it, and the color scheme is going to be a little less colorful, but not as bland and washed out as the first one. It looks like they're really finding their balance. And it looks like they're finding their balance in more areas than one, not just in the story. They're also finding their balance, though, honestly, in my opinion, in the multiplayer aspect also. They said that they want the game to feel like you want to get it on every day. And Resistance 2 did not have that for me. It did not. It didn't have that thing that just kept me coming back like you gotta play it, you gotta play it, you gotta play it. They've also said the same thing for co-op. Co-op is no longer going to be with random missions with no story and you don't know what the hell's going on. You're just shooting stuff for 30 minutes, which is good. they're actually saying that you're gonna have co-op story, which me honestly, a lot of people actually prefer that over a separate co-op mode. I personally would have liked them to see something like a horde mode type thing. I mean, who wouldn't want like thousands of Grims running at you with like 4 of your buddies just wrecking house? I mean, I personally think that a horde mode type thing, co-op mode, is the smartest thing that they've done in shooting games in a while. Look at Nazi Zombies, look at horde mode on Gears, look at Firefight on Halo. They all work very well. They're all very popular, and they all add to the game's experience. But again, we still don't know what exactly is going to be on the discs when it ships. But right now, Resistance 3 is really shaping up to be a good game. They had a spread in IGN, or not IGN, they had a spread in Game Inform a couple months back, and that's really what initially got me excited. But then this recent video that I saw releasing this information is just, it's put me back into overhaul. I'm really excited for the game, and like I said, I think it's going to do better. And I also think that it's going to silence a lot of the naysayers. I have a lot of people that I know personally that don't believe this game's going to do that good. They doubt it because they don't like Resistance in general. The second one left a bad taste in their mouth. And me personally, I think it's going to silence them. You know, I want to know what you guys think, though. I want to know if any of you are even excited for this game, because maybe you're one of the people that was like, you know what, Resistance 2 didn't really do it for me, so I don't really care about the third one. Or maybe you're really excited about it. Maybe you still play the first one from time to time, and you're like, dude, I'm really excited for this. Let me know. I really want to know what you guys are thinking about this. And you guys just, you guys have a nice day. Check out the video in the description. Rate, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'm not gonna be a sub whore or anything like that. You guys do what you want to do. It's your decision anyway. But I appreciate you guys watching my video. You guys take it easy, and peace out. See you guys next time.